I'm Yasi Salek, and I'm the host of Bandsplain, a show where we explain cult bands and iconic artists by going deep into their histories and discographies. We're back with a brand new season at our brand new home, the Ringer Podcast Network, tackling a whole new batch of artists, from grunge gods to power pop pioneers to nu metal legends, and many, many more. Listen to new episodes every Thursday, only on Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. All right, it's official. I think I've discovered the ultimate coupling of all time. Like any good relationship, they really balance each other out. One is super sweet, and the other, well, they can be a little nutty sometimes. It is, of course, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the perfect combination of peanut butter and chocolate. So perfect, some would call it true love. Find Reese's now at a store near you. This episode is brought to you by Visible. Maybe you've already let your New Year's resolution slip. We all have, but you can still make a 2 year's resolution with Visible. Right now, you can get a one-line wireless plan from Visible for just $20 per month for 24 months. 24 months is basically 4 Bachelor seasons. That could be 4 engagements, 4 broken engagements, so many other couples we didn't see coming. It's really an eternity in Bachelor Nation. And that's unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon with no annual contracts. Switch now at Visible.com and use the code VISIBLE24. Don't miss out. Offer ends January 31st. New members only. Promotional rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see Visible.com. Welcome to Bachelor Party. I'm Juliet Litman. I have a big guest today. It is Wells Adams. You know him from Bachelor in Paradise and probably just like Bachelor Nation. He's been around for a while. Anyway, he is on a show on Hulu called Best in Dough, which is a pizza making competition. But of course, more importantly, he's here to talk to us about Paradise. So let's get into it. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Wells Adams. Wells, welcome to the podcast and congratulations on your recent nuptials.
Thank you so much. Yeah, finally got hitched.
How's it feel?
It feels exactly the same as it did beforehand because we had to postpone twice. So we were supposed to get married basically 2.5 years ago. So we've been saying we've kind of felt married for quite a while. We bought a house together. We have dogs together. So yeah, we got married and it just felt like we were throwing a party for everybody else.
That's great. Well,
yeah.
People love parties, me included. Wells, I'm delighted to be talking to you for a number of reasons, but I just wanted to start by saying I was like thinking about what are my earliest Wells memories. And I remember your bio from when you were on JoJo season, I believe, right?
Yep.
I remember it said that you were a DJ from Nashville who really liked tacos, and the tacos really stuck out to me. And I just wondering if you have favorite tacos in LA. Do you still like tacos? Are you still a taco person?
Of course. And I live in Mexico for a month, so there, and I have to eat a bunch of tacos. But I don't. Trejo's is pretty good. Okay,
cool. Those are good.
Yeah, but if I'm being honest, like I love to cook, and so and also Sarah and I really don't leave the house a whole lot, and so like I do the majority of the cooking, and I do the majority of the taco making, and I make a damn good taco.
Wow.
So my place to get tacos is my house. Wow. Just come to Studio City next time you're there, and I'll make with some amazing tacos.
I'm sure you'd love it if I tracked down your address through some creepy method and then just showed up on your door saying, "Hey, you invited me for tacos." Yeah. Well, what's your filling of choice? And then we'll actually talk about The Bachelor.
I'm a big shrimp taco guy.
Okay.
And what I really like to do is I like to get the smoker out and smoke some shrimp.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah. And then, and I'm also a Baja taco man. So
good.
Very, very simple, like cilantro, onions, hot sauce, like some lime juice, and like really that's it. I also like to hand make my tortillas as well.
Wow, you do really cook a lot. This sounds fantastic. Well, now I understand why you want to stay home. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Wells, you are now the only bartender in Paradise? Doesn't seem like you got a lot of help behind the bar back there. Like, are you tired at the end of the day? What are your days like when the show is filming?
They're long, if I'm being honest. They're very long. I think it's funny. Everyone assumes that like there's a bartender that makes the drinks, and I come in and like hand the drinks over and do like my shtick with everybody. And then when they come down and they see it happening, and they're like, "Oh, you like make all these drinks, and like you have to go get the ice, and like when we run out of cups, like you have to clean them." Like, it's not very glamorous.
So you're actually bartending.
Yes, I actually am bartending, and the hours are long. I mean, like reality TV, you kind of just film all day and you just wait for things to happen. So yeah, and rose ceremony nights are really long because there's just you can't really start until the sun goes down. And then there's a lot of things you got to get through before you get the rose ceremony. So yeah, we're talking like 8-9 hour shifts.
Wow. That is long.
Yeah.
Did you like take a bartending class? Have you ever bartended before? Like, I'm going to be honest. If I was on Paradise and my drinks weren't being made that I wanted them to, I'd be pretty disappointed. So how are you, what are your bona fides for this role?
Well, when I was living in college, I was a bartender and waiter. And then when I was in Nashville, like moonlighting at radio stations, I would still bartend and wait tables and stuff. So I have a good kind of understanding of mixology. And then when I got this job, I did like do a refresher course at like a bartending school just to make sure that I could kind of do everything. But if I'm being honest, like one, I can't have a blender down there because of sound.
Oh.
So everything's on the rocks at that bar. The bar by the pool, they make everything. And so if I'm being honest, like it's a lot of like the same drinks down there. It's a lot of like the sodas, splash of pineapple,
Sure.
Like
sounds great. Yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff, like a lot of margaritas, and like a lot of wine and champagne and stuff. So it's not like I'm out here having to create like really, crazy outlandish drinks.
I'm like shocked by this. This is incredible. So, how do you like find out what's going on? Like, do people just come up and offer up the information, or do you ask questions? Like, how do you stay in the loop when you're legitimately working an 8-hour shift?
I mean, it's a bar, like any bar you'd go to, like people just like congregate around the bar, like it's no different than any other place. And so when everyone's around, we have cameras everywhere. So
Sure.
I'm always being like, what's going on? What's going on? If nothing else, for narration of the show. And so everyone's like, oh my God, Genevieve's over there crying. And oh my God, Victoria took, Justin
Johnny.
And yeah, that's coming up. And like, so I get kind of downloaded. And then, there are storylines. We haven't seen any heart to hearts, but they're coming where like, there'll be a producer will be like, so-and-so is really struggling and they need some like Wells advice because, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's harder for cast members to truly trust a producer because they have a motivation to, make a television show. For me, like, I totally understand where these people are coming from. I was on the show. I understand like the trepidations that you have going in there and the anxieties of how it's going to look afterwards. And, I truly am like looking out for everyone's best interest. And so I feel like it's a lot easier for them to come to me to be like, hey, so this is how I'm feeling. What do you think I should do? And yada, yada, yada. And I always give them the best advice. Do they always take it? No. But the smart ones that do always end up looking the best.
It seems like you're having a lot of fun this season. Like, I feel like through 3 episodes, it seems like you're just like kind of like holding court in a way that I don't know you necessarily were shown to be in previous seasons. What makes one season more fun than another for you? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you weren't having fun. You're just a great actor.
Yeah. I think that nothing has really changed between this season and past seasons, other than the fact that ABC bought a lot more episodes. And so I think that like the things that used to be left on the cutting room floor that I did are not being left on the cutting room floor anymore because we were filling time. Yeah, but this season does have shades of season 4 of Paradise, which is when I did like a lot of puppetry and like a lot of good stuff. And that's kind of the same thing. We had to shut down because of, there was a weird scandal that we had, and there was a bunch of time we needed to fill. And so I think that's what's happening is they're just using a lot more of me because there's more time to fill. The other thing too is I think for a long time they were having a hard time figuring out how to best utilize my storytelling capabilities. And this season we honed it in, and you'll see like on last night's episode, I do like the Wells story time thing, and we have this crazy reenactment. And there'll be a lot more of the, not so much reenactments, but there's a lot more Wells story times where like I bring everyone together and I kind of tell this story and we can kind of paint a picture for everybody, which I think is going to be enjoyed a lot by, Bachelor Nation.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We have to talk about Salley, who we have not seen yet, but we've seen her luggage and her vibrator, allegedly. Yeah. Did that whole story really happen, like from start to end as you told it? Like, is that true?
Well, I can say this. That story is the story that we heard from the producer that went there.
Okay.
Now, how embellished that story was... I do not know, but that was the story that we were told in Mexico, being relayed the information from the producer, because she was supposed to come earlier. She missed like 6 or 7 flights.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Yeah, I know. So
I can't believe she didn't get uninvited by that point. Like she's the opposite of a flight risk. She's a no flyer.
Yeah, well, the next best thing was a reenactment of me telling the story, I guess.
When you met her, we know she shows up based on the preview for future episodes. When you met her, did you ask her like what was going on?
No.
Just carried on. Just moved on along with it.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you, so I believe Romeo came to you for advice, and he obviously has had a real run of things. So what do you think was his fatal flaw? I mean, he's still on the show, obviously, but things are not going great. And Jill only accepted his rose to like stay around, which I think is a great move. But what do you think was his original sin? What did he do so wrong?
Here's the thing. I don't know if he really did anything really wrong. I mean, the truth of the matter is we're 3 days into making this show.
I know. It's crazy. They act like it's been like 3 years.
There's
such an emphasis this season on like, I put all my eggs in your basket and it's literally been 2 days. Like, how is that feeling cultivated? Like, why is Genevieve so set on Justin when she's probably spent like 12 hours with him?
Well, here's the thing. Like it's almost like dog years down there where like a day is like a month, It is. They're very long days. You have a lot of time with everybody. But, in terms of Romeo, like the problem is that like he totally dissed Kira. Because Kier was coming on a little too strong, fair enough. And then it seemed like he was all about Jill, and then he dissed Jill, and it was like he just couldn't figure out what he wanted, and he just kind of ended up looking like an F-boy.
Big time.
And it's him crying so much also almost lended to like, is this an act? Like, are you being authentic, or like, are you crying because like you realize how bad you're going to look, So.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. One of my co-hosts, my friend Callie, we do this show twice a week. And so on our first episode this week, she was saying she thought that Romeo was crying as a tactic. And I thought that he was just like a broken man. And so it didn't even occur to me that perhaps he was like somewhat crying because he knew how bad it looked. But you had a front row. So was that something that you were thinking as it was happening?
A little bit. I thought it was hilarious. Like, he could not stop crying. And I think I was like, dude, you need to stop crying. Like, this is weird. Like, it's starting to get weird, man. You know?
I know. I was like, why is he crying so much?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was embarrassed. Brittany curved him hard.
Real hard, we need more Brittany screen time. She's so good. And so
I love Brittany. She's like Brittany and Casey are like our surprise favorites so far. We're like, Brittany just seems awesome and like great energy. And Casey just seems kind of fun too. He's not doing a ton, but like he's a good narrator.
Yeah, he's great. Especially episode 1, him and Lace were like very, very good in narration.
Yeah. What makes a good narrator? I mean, you've been around the show for like 7 years now, and obviously you were kind of in that role. And like, what makes a good narrator, and how, as given your vantage point from behind the bar, like when do you spot that?
I mean, it's people who are funny, and yeah, I mean, like anyone can be like, this happened and this happened and this happened, you know. But like to be able to inject like personality and like funny quips into those things, that's what makes a good narrator. And those are people who are just like witty and funny, you know, and like a little crazy. Like when people are like a little wonky, like it becomes funny.
Yeah, like Genevieve, who's like definitely a little.
She's that's also Lace. Like Lace is like the best reality star we have there. Like she kills it. But like she says some things where you're just like, what are you talking? I have no idea what you're talking about. You know?
Had you met Lace before? Were you guys on the show together?
Yeah, we were on season 3 together.
Got it. Did she remember you? Like, what's Lace like in real life? I was joking that it seems like she's like Austin Powers, like she was unfrozen from 2016.
Yeah.
What's she like?
She's just like she is on TV, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Like, she comes at this show pretty honestly. And yeah, I mean, we're as close as I feel like as I am to anybody else on the show, except for like a few people. But yeah, before the show, she hit me up and she was like, I'm coming. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to have some fun, Lace. And yeah, we'll see. We had a lot of heart-to-hearts. I don't know if they're going to show any of them, but I help her through some interesting times. And she has quite the storyline this year.
Oh, good. I'm excited about it. This episode is brought to you by eBay Authenticity Guarantee. eBay knows that when it comes to jewelry, authenticity is the real gem. When you see the blue check mark that says Authenticity Guarantee, it means your next piece will be carefully inspired by jewelry experts and will always be worth its weight in gold. Whether you're looking to make a statement or build the perfect everyday look, eBay is making sure you get the real deal. With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, you can trust that jaw-dropping piece will always arrive jaw-droppingly real. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal. Visit ebay.com for terms. This episode is brought to you by Visible. Maybe you've already let your New Year's resolution slip. We all have, but you can still make a 2 year's resolution with Visible. Right now, you can get a one-line wireless plan from Visible for just $20 per month for 24 months. 24 months is basically 4 Bachelor seasons. That could be 4 engagements, 4 broken engagements. So many other couples we didn't see coming. It's really an eternity in Bachelor Nation. And that's unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon with no annual contracts. Switch now at Visible.com and use the code Visible24. Don't miss out. Offer ends January 31st. New members only. Promotional rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see Visible.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need. Have coverage options to protect the things you value most. File a claim right on the State Farm mobile app and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
What's your relationship like with Jesse Palmer?
It's good. I mean, I met him for the first time. We were doing like a Bachelor in Paradise / like he had that surfing show.
Sure. Yeah. Ultimate Surfer.
Yeah. And so we like hosted this thing for ABC executives in LA. And so both him and I were the hosts of it and on stage. And that was the first time I met him. And it was then when I was like, oh, this guy's like so good at this, like very polished. And so, yeah, now I get to hang out with him in Mexico. And it's a little bit of like me showing him the ropes of that place, which, it's like just getting around, like logistically, you have to like kind of like learn how to get around that place. And then like this show is a lot different than working on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Like it is a comedy. You need to, kind of, your tone needs to be a little bit different, I think, and stuff. So, but I think he's doing a great job. And
yeah, I'm a Jesse super fan.
We're a good team too. I feel bad for him. He's a big dude, and big dudes who are athletes tend to sweat a lot, and like it's hot there. And he there's times when he's sweating like, Adam Levine's PR agent.
So what do you do on your off time? And I mean, Jesse's must have so much off time. People are only coming in like, few minutes a day.
Yeah. Jesse lives off site in, at the Vedanta, which is like where we have all the dates, which is kind of far away. So like, we really only bring him in like when we need like rose ceremonies or like entrances and stuff. I live on site. So it's a lot of like me just like hanging around. My hours are, I generally am just doing night shifts this season.
That's good.
So it's a lot of like 10 o'clock to like 4 a.m. shoots. Jeez. So if I'm being honest with you, like my off time is I generally sleep until about noon or 1. I'll like go run on the beach, get dinner, and then it'll be like time to go back to work.
Right. Man, this is like a pretty grueling schedule.
Yeah, it's not. I know it's glamorous, but it's not. It's a lot of work.
Is there any air conditioning behind the bar?
No.
Oh, brutal. At least you're doing it at night. That's good.
Yeah.
You referenced that the show is a comedy, and I thought that was really interesting. I interviewed Alon Gale a few months ago, which was wonderful. He also talked about like how a show like Paradise or FY Island is a comedy. And I never really think about the shows being like different genres, but when you approach like, a guest spot, if you were to like have a guest spot on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette versus you're hosting your bartending gig on Paradise, are you like thinking about that tone when you're on camera? Because I think that's a really interesting point and like an interesting way of differentiating between the shows.
Well, for the stuff that I've had to do for The Bachelor, The Bachelorette still is in like the comedy realm. Like
sure.
They had me and Harrison doing a lot of like play-by-play for like the sports dates and stuff.
Right.
And so I was kind of like channeling like my dodgeball,
know, like being on the Ocho. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like bold move, Cotton. But yeah, like it's one thing that like kind of frustrates me a little bit about like the fans of the show, that they forget that it is a comedy. Like it opens as a comedy. Like the opening segment is like, it's taking the piss out of everybody.
Yeah, it's like a parody.
So it's like you need to watch the show with that thought in mind. Yes, of course, we want these people to find love and, cultivate meaningful relationships. But like when we do silly things like reenact this whole like Salley story, like, this is a joke. Like,
yeah, of course.
Don't take it seriously. It is a joke. Like the first episode, we had a girl on the toilet, like.
I'm glad she's gone, by the way, not because I dislike Hunter, but because I don't want any more toilet references or whatever. But that's just me. It's just my humor. But I get it. I think that's like a really important point, just like kind of in general for all Bachelor franchises, Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Paradise. Like my hope is that it just kind of gets a little bit less serious and just like a little bit more like, let's get back to having fun, people. And I feel like the last few years has been hard with that. I've talked about it quite a bit on the pod, but I think people really look forward to Paradise because of like the levity and because of the humor, and having like someone in your role is like, it's just kind of like having another audio track of like someone kind of commenting in a funny way. And I feel like there's such a relief when people get to Paradise. Do you feel that from fans yourself?
Yes. And especially I feel like after this last season of The Bachelorette, which I think was just hard on everybody, like
very
crew, especially, but then also like for the fans. And so, yeah, I feel like Paradise is much needed and much welcomed right now. So
do you get any background on the guys who came off of Gabby and Rachel's season, like Logan, Johnny, I forget who else is there right now. But yeah, anyway.
It was tough this year because in years past, because we changed the schedule, because it used to be that I would be able to at least watch like the first 4 or 5 episodes of The Bachelorette before I even left to go film Paradise. So I'd had like an idea of who people were. And then while I was there, I could continue to watch the show. And this season, like we went and filmed and like The Bachelorette hadn't even started airing. So yeah. I had to like kind of take it from like I remember Johnny and Logan was like, I'm the villain. And I was like, you don't seem like the villain. He's like, no, I had a hard time with, I couldn't choose between the two. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe you were the villain. I don't know. But I had no context or pretense of that until we got there. I mean, they'll give me like this is so-and-so and this is what they're known for, but that doesn't really help, you know?
Sure. That's really interesting that he had that awareness. I mean, I guess if you're flip-flopping, perhaps you know, but did he really have COVID? I still don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you ask are you curious in how the people feel about each other? Like, I really liked the reference this week to Justin and Salley being all over each other at Stagecoach. I was like, great, like definitely bring that into the show. I was glad it was referenced. Do you ask for those kinds of details, or like do you try to keep up with them so that you have all that information when you're there, or do you just like let it come to you?
Well, I mean, like,
did you go to Stagecoach? Are you a Stagecoach man?
No, I'm not a huge country music guy, but
I don't like festivals. Too hot, too much walking.
Well, and I also worked in radio in Nashville for 15 years. I used to go have to cover Bonnaroo, and I did enough of that, like enough sweating in the dust and the dirt. Yeah, it's not really my thing, but I don't keep up with them so much, but like everyone knows it's like this like weird incestual family, and like everyone kind of is in everyone else's business, and like even when they're like trying to be like sneaky, everyone knows what's going on. And so, yeah, we all know what's going on, like behind the scenes, or what happened at Stagecoach or Coachella, earlier that year.
Sure. I like that it's being acknowledged on the show. I think that's like a good evolution of kind of like how the storylines are crafted, because I do think a lot of people are paying attention, and just also like, it was interesting. We talked about this earlier this week too, with Teddi and Andrew, and the way that Teddi just like pieced out and ghosted all of her friends and you. It seemed like something they had been like talking beforehand, and like I just have to assume they say like they both went there to meet each other or whatever. And when she just like leaves so abruptly, and they have like this sort of like abrupt like, we're not feeling it. It's kind of confusing if they don't give that backstory. So is there anything else that you could say about Teddi and Andrew that will make more sense and seem less jarring?
I mean, I'm glad that you picked up on that, because when it was happening, that was a thing that we were talking to them about. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And like, it's going to be very hard to explain this to the audience. Like, I think that they were so scared. Like, I don't know if they had a relationship beforehand, but that's what everyone just assumed. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I think they were so scared that like they'd be ostracized, because that's what happened last year with Piper and Brendan.
Yeah.
And I remember when all that was going down, we were like, you guys just need to explain this. I don't think anyone's going to be mad about it, but like, what's going on? And then with her leaving, it was very odd. Like, she just like up and was like, I'm out of here. And I actually went down to find her just to be like, all I wanted to do was like, if you want to leave, but like, you should say goodbye to everyone. Cause that's kind of messed up. Like everyone likes you and like you leave, and you're like, it's like one thing to Irish exit at a party, but like,
yeah, of course.
We've been here for like a week and like, you're not gonna say goodbye to anyone. And so I went down there to tell her that, be like, you can go. I don't give a shit, but like, you should probably say goodbye. And she saw me and was like, nope. And just like laughed. I was like, oh, okay. It was very, very odd.
It was confusing. Also, what she was saying to Andrew was confusing too. I think that actually, like, it both made me understand what was happening more, but also made like the actual impetus for why she was ending things even more confusing. Because my assumption is that then we talked about this earlier on this week on my pod as well. They talked so much beforehand that they had like a lot of expectations of what it would be like to actually be together. And it probably wasn't meeting the same vibe as they had like over text or whatever. And so then it was just like, no, this is not a thing and I'm out. So that's what I assumed, but it was very hard to tell. Is that more or less what happened?
I don't know what happened, but I could see that being the thing because it didn't. We're a week in. Why are you so bummed out? Like, it's okay. Like, that's what this place is about. You date people and you figure it out. And like, I don't know why you're so like distraught over the fact that like this one didn't work. It's okay. And that's why that's why we're like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it would make more sense if you guys had been talking and we knew this, but we never really found out what the truth was because it was too late anyway. She was like, I'm out of here. We're like,
yeah,
she
was just like, I'm done with
this.
On
to the next story.
And one other couple that we were like, what's going on with them? Brandon and Serene. They obviously had been talking too. We're just like excited to see each other and went in the opposite direction, I guess. And we're just like, yeah, this is going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone has like they say it too, like they're on my list, Because when you're like putting together the cast, like you want to make sure that like people are into other people.
Sure. It's like medical school. You got to have like mutual, it's like finding each other, cross-referencing your match list.
Yeah. And so they were both on each other's lists,
Got it.
And so I really don't know if they knew each other beforehand, but they're also like both the prettiest people in the world. And of course,
really
like they are going to like be attracted to one another. And yeah, like it's, who knows what's going to happen with them. But it was like after day one, we were like, just get married now. What are we doing?
I know. I always think couples like that should have to be escorted out. Like, okay, you found each other. Bye. You're done here. Wells, it was so nice talking to you. This insight was really cool. And it's awesome to hear about the show from your perspective. Love what you're doing this season. And good luck with the rest of the season and the rest of the press you have to do around it. And thanks again for joining me.
Thank you. If I could say one thing,
sure.
I do have another show out on Hulu right now called Best in Dough that I'm hosting. And it's a pizza competition show that's the most fun. And if you enjoy me on Paradise, then please go watch Best in Dough. The only problem, it might make you hungry for pizza, but that's okay.
That sounds like a great compliment to Chef's Table Pizza. You should watch them together. That's like your whole weekend. Have you watched that too? A lot of pizza. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. No, mine's on Hulu. Go watch it on
Only
Hulu.
Hulu. We're keeping it in the ABC family.
There's this other show that's on Hulu too. Bachelor in Paradise is also on Hulu.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Wells. I definitely will check that out, I promise. And I hope you all do too. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again to Wells for joining me. And of course, thank you to Erika Cervantes for producing this episode. Callie and I will be back on Tuesday. Talk to you then.